Hello everyone, this is Jace, bringing you another audio commentary, this time over Act 4, Chapter 3, Part 1, the Astos fight. So as you can see, we're bringing a little bit of a weird comp, specifically because we're bringing Cid Highwind. Rem and Quistis aren't that weird, but Cid Highwind? Before I continue, make sure you keep track of this EX damage. So 460,000 damage, which is pretty bad for the current era. Just keep that number in mind, it'll make sense why later. So, honestly, they just did not give this fight enough HP. You'd think, especially when they're bringing Astos into the game, this fight would have a lot of HP to compensate for the fact that, anytime he sneezes, the universe dies. But, I don't know, I guess not. This fight is, honestly, it feels a little bit weak, which is why I brought such a silly comp to do such silly things. So, there's a little bit of synergy going on in this team. With Quistis on the field, as long as you have her BT, she can make everybody delay, which basically turns part of her FR, the delay conditions, into a generic portion. However, with Rem also on the team, her BT effect allows everybody to battery. And battering the party is the other part of Quistis' FR. So, with this comp, Quistis' FR becomes a generic that gives 75% per turn, as long as you are working to fulfill the conditions. So, that part's pretty nice. As for Rem, as you can see, we're using her to charge the gauge. We're going to cut it a bit close, and we're going to round the rest of the force gauge charging off with her BT phase. So I'm doing, there's a little bit of a method to what I'm doing here in this BT phase. So what I want to do is, of course, I want to charge the gauge the rest of the way. We can accomplish this with her skill 2 swap turns, or with her skill 1 cure. But I'm doing a little bit of swapping turns with Cid and Quistis to make sure that the turn order after we kind of come out of the BT phase is exactly how we want it to look. Specifically, I want Quistis to go first so she can activate her FR. I'd still like Cid to be somewhat close, and we'd like to give him the Siphon, I think it's actually Magical Projection, I don't know, whatever buff boosts his damage. But we're also going to use Rem's FR here to make sure that Rem goes right after Quistis, just in case the enemy gets their force gauge charged before I can activate Quistis' FR. That'll allow us to use Rem's FR Echo to cancel the force gauge. Now, thankfully, they didn't end up getting the force gauge charged, which allows us to go right into Quistis' FR. Now, if you're a newer player, you might be a little bit confused as to why I brought Cid Highwind. The last time he was updated, if I'm recalling correctly, was January of 2022. The developers gave him a lot of HP attacks in his EX and his LD, but back then there wasn't really a whole lot of a way to make sure he hit damage cap, as far as I know. I didn't start playing until March 2022, so I could be wrong. But with this team comp, we have brought ways to make sure that he is able to hit his damage cap. Now, I told you to remember a specific number. It was 460,000. Now check this out. $7.4 million. Now, if we cut that in half to get what it actually would have looked like before force time, I believe that's like 3.7 million before force time in his EX? So if you're a newer player, Cid Highwind's EX has 13 full AoE HP attacks. 13 full AoE, you heard that right. His LD, which you just saw me use, has 9 split AoE, and his overhead has this follow-up in it. Which is 6 split AoE HP attacks. Again, normally he wouldn't cap all this damage, but with Rem on the team, everybody gets battery for 50% of max brave after every HP attack that gets dealt. Quistis also has a decent amount of damage up, and all that good stuff to help Cid hit his damage cap. The way that his follow-up works is he gains a stack of his overhead after every turn that he takes. But if he uses LD, he gains an additional stack. So every time he uses LD, he'll automatically just max out his stacks. And then when somebody else in the party deals damage on their turn, his follow-up will go off. So we're going to be leveraging that along with his absurd EX damage to, well, wipe out this relatively low HP boss. Honestly, that's about it. That's the whole strategy for this team. That's why this wonkiness works. Here I tried to save all FR Echoes for the end, because for both Quistis and Rem, their strongest hitting abilities are their FR Echoes, I'm pretty sure. I know that's for sure the case for Rem. I feel like it's the case for Quistis as well. If somebody else knows otherwise, please feel free to correct me in the comments. Now here, I actually made a little bit of a mistake. Not fully optimized run, but it doesn't matter because again, the boss doesn't have a whole lot of HP. What I should have done here is use Rem's FR Echo to give her another turn immediately after, so that I can get both of her Echo usages out. But because I selected Cid Highwind to go after Rem, I'm not actually going to be able to use Rem's second FR Echo during this fight. But like I said, they really don't have that much HP, so it's totally fine. We activate the Bahamut summon here. We use Cid's LD because we know that Quistis is going to get a turn right after this. And that just gives us a little bit more insurance to make sure the boss dies in case it doesn't. But Quistis' EX is more than enough to finish off both bosses, and there you go. That's the run. And that's the reasoning behind this silly team. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you ran for this fight down in the comments. And I will catch you next time. Later.